Hi everyone and welcome back to LL Sports TV. I am your host Laurie, and as usual it is my honour and pleasure to introduce my younger sibling, Robbie, in the building. Big up Robbie, what are you saying, man?
Yeah, good. Good, man.
Good? It's a lot better than last week, yeah?
Yeah, better than last week. You know what I mean? You know, Arsenal done well in the Champions League and looking forward to the next stage. You
was at the game yesterday. I would say a fairly comfortable win. Although I don't think we were overly sensational. In fact, I was accused on the AFTV watch-along of being a bit miserable because I was saying that after scoring after 2 minutes, I wanted us to go on and really put Zagreb to the sword. Because I've got to be honest, man, to me, Zagreb, very mediocre side. In fact, I was saying to those guys yesterday that looking at them, they look more like a championship team than a premiership team. So we should really have stuck it on them a bit more. But to be fair, got 2 other goals in the 66th minute, courtesy of Kai Havertz and Odegaard, both players who needed goals. So it was a good return in the end, yeah?
Yeah, listen, you can't disrespect teams in the Champions League. You know what I mean? Yes, Arsenal didn't get out of second, third gear. It was a very comfortable win, but a very professional win. Did they need to go out there and smash them up 6-7-0? You know, that doesn't always equate to anything, you know, all the time. We're going our City. They won 6-0 last week. Couldn't beat PSG.
Good point.
Champions League, don't disrespect teams.
You know what it is, though? I'll be honest with you, right? So you're right. You're absolutely right in what you're saying. I think what it is with me, I was having flashbacks of what happened with Villa. So we played Villa, kicked off the game really well. We go 2-0 up, we're dominating, and in the space of 8 minutes, we allow Villa back into the game. So the point I was making yesterday is that we'd gone 1-0 up early against, I think it was after 2 minutes, Declan Rice. Excellent goal, by the way. I wanted us to kick on and really put it on them. Because like I said, I had those flashbacks of Villa coming back. When you're only 1-0 up, anything can happen in football.
Yeah, but then maybe that's why Arsenal played in that way with a bit more level of control, because that Villa thing was on their mind, you know what I mean? And it was a very important game yesterday.
It was.
That Arsenal knew if they won that game, they're more or less through without having to go into that playoffs. Which, you know, you're in the playoffs, you could get anybody. You could get Real Madrid, you could get, you know what I mean? So getting through and then also not having to play those extra games in February, you know, Mikel Arteta would have been desperately looking for that. And I thought it was a really professional, controlled performance. And it's a bit like, I know you love your boxing, it's a bit like in boxing, isn't it? Like styles make fights. You know what I mean? You got one team that basically, they got everybody behind the ball. You know what I mean? They're not really going all out attack until, say, the last 10 minutes. You know, and you got another team that they've got all the ball. So, and you could see what they wanted to do. They were just all about counter-attack. So I think it was a very professional performance in Europe by Arsenal. They got the job done. They've, you know, navigated this group very well, you know, because there's been some tricky games in the group, you know, had to go away to Sporting, beat them 5-1, went away to Inter, a little bit unfortunate really to not get at least a draw in that game. That was the only game they lost. Had to go away to Atalanta, had to play PSG, you know what I mean, and have come through the group pretty well, and, you know, we'll finish off in Girona next week. I'll be at that game. But I think all in all, you know, it's been a pretty impressive qualification. For all our woes and for all everybody's been having a pop at Arsenal, they're going to finish third probably out of 36 teams.
Yeah.
That's very good, because some big teams that are not even going to get through to the next stage.
It could be City.
And it could be City. City could be one of them, you know what I mean? So,
what do you say to those people who are saying that we're actually better in the Champions League than we've been in the Premier League?
Well, you know, I mean, listen, I think the Premier League you're seeing, you're playing week in, week out, innit? So we get to see warts and all every week with Arsenal, whereas the Champions League has been a lot less games. Maybe could a knockout competition suit sort of our style of play, how we've been playing? Maybe. Could it be that, you know, we've had the injuries to certain players, but those players like Saka, they were available for a lot of those games, but now we've got the sort of last 2 easier games they're missing, but they're easier games. I don't know. Certainly, I think we've got to strengthen the squad 100% if we have to have any ambitions of winning the Champions League. Because I want to win something. I want to win that, or still give ourselves the best chance to try and win that, or to win the league.
Some people are suggesting that the style of football that we're playing at the moment, that controlled football, it's not, to be fair, it's not like overly flamboyant, but it's controlled, and we defend well for the most part. I mean, I know Villa was a bit of a lapse, but for the most part, people are saying that our style of football actually suits the Champions League more so than it does the Premier League.
It might do. It really might do. Who knows? I'm still very early in the Champions League as well. You know what I mean? Like, Liverpool flawless in the Champions League so far, but we've seen over the years teams like Real Madrid start off poorly in the Champions League, but then they build momentum, get better, and then when it comes to the business end, that's where they do well, and teams like us and that falter. So still a long way to go, but it's been a good start so far in this Champions League.
Yeah, third in the Champions League, second in the Premier League, and things are looking good. I mean, it was...
And said to be like terrible.
Well,
and that's the thing. A bit of a reality check sometimes, right? For people that, it's not all done yet, but get some reinforcements in and give Arsenal a chance.
You've segued nicely onto what I was going to ask you next, because as everybody knows, you are the transfer window doyen. You know what I mean? You're the one you're the go-to man. Every day I get up in January and I watch the Transfer Daily show that you do, a very accomplished show, very informative. So it's only right, man, that I should put you on the spot and ask you who's coming to Arsenal.
Well, listen, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. Nobody knows right now. Nobody knows who's coming to Arsenal. That is the truth of it. You may get this ITK, you might get that person on saying this, and this so-called transfer expert. At this moment in time, nobody knows.
But there are a couple of names, and I do want to get your response on this. A couple of names that have been linked quite strongly, it's fair to say, with Arsenal in the recent days anyway. I know there's still... just under a couple of weeks ago, but Matthias Cunha, who incidentally we come up against on Saturday, we're going to cover that game briefly later in the show, and Benjamin Sesko. How likely are either one of them or even both of them?
Listen, again, I know it's a boring answer, but who knows? Like with the Benjamin Sesko one,
give us the latest on that.
Arsenal would love to sign Benjamin Sesko this January transfer window. He was a target for the summer. Last summer he was a target. He ended up staying for more development and staying at RB Leipzig. This summer was when Arsenal were going to move for him, but they're trying to bring that forward because of what's happened to Saka and Jesus, right? But RB Leipzig really don't want to sell Sesko until at least the summer. They're out of the Champions League. They can't go through, but they're still, fifth in their league, and they want to get into the Champions League for next year. We know how lucrative that is.
So would that mean he's cup-tied then, in effect?
He wouldn't be cup-tied. No, he would be able to play. He wouldn't be able to play. Say they bought him tomorrow, he wouldn't be able to play against Girona, but he would be able to play in the next set of games that come up, right? But they don't want to sell him. That is the big issue. Do Arsenal go all aggressive on him, because then they still might want to get him in the summer. They don't really want to upset RB Leipzig. And I was saying on my Transfer Daily show today, the really interesting thing about it is that the final decision could lay with Jurgen Klopp.
Oh, wow.
He's now in charge of all the Red Bull teams.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but as it stands, it's looking unlikely in that one, because they don't want to sell and they want to keep holding.
What about the player, though? Because apparently Mikel Arteta has spoken
Mikel Arteta has apparently spoken to him. That was about the summer. Have they spoken to his representatives about bringing that forward? It's going to rest with the club. Listen, you can't say it's impossible, because Arsenal could go in there with a ridiculous offer. I mean, that's what it's going to take. If it's 60 million in what was being talked about in the summer, 55, 60 million, maybe if Arsenal went in and said, all right, listen, I'll tell you what, we give you 75 now, 80, they may be tempted, because they do have some other strikers, But as it stands at the moment, it's
still up.
You don't know. That's the thing, is that nobody fully knows. But the sounds coming out of there, their manager was asked about it yesterday. He said that Sesko's staying and stuff like that. But Mamouche,
they always say that.
Mamouche, who signed for City. at the start of the window, that's what they were saying. There's no way Mamouche is going anything. Now he's got a City shirt on. So, but at the moment, it's looking difficult, that deal.
For a number of reasons, managers will really say,
No, but you can't come out because then you mess up all negotiations and that they'll be under instructions to say that. I reckon the player would love to come now. But
the only thing I did hear about that is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you may have heard differently, is that Sesko apparently, allegedly, reportedly, has said to people close to him that he didn't want to come to Arsenal and play second fiddle. Or, I'm paraphrasing, but that was what I was
he's
hearing.
not going to play second fiddle. If he comes, he's going to be,
do you think he gets in? Do you think he starts ahead of Havertz, huh?
No, I think I think he could do. I think you could shift Havertz in different positions. And there's so many games that Arsenal played. You'll get a lot of games. So
yeah, we'd get a lot of games, but there is that thing about being the number one striker. And that is important to a lot of strikers. I saw with Julian Alvarez, he was very successful in City in terms of winning things, but he still left them because he wasn't getting enough football.
I think if Arsenal make that big investment on him, he could be the number one striker. But, you've got to come also and earn your place. You know what I mean? You've got to come running up your mouth about you're going to be just starting every game. You've got to, he's got to grow into the league.
Yeah, but strikers are a different breed. And so we're led to believe a lot of them like to have it, if not written in their contracts, a kind of unwritten rule.
Yeah, I think if you're one of the really elite strikers, you can demand that straight away. I think he'd have to earn his position first.
That's fair enough. And let's talk about the other guy that we've been linked with, Matheus Cunha, who incidentally we come up against at the weekend.
Interesting if we do come up against him, because if we don't come up against him,
that's a good point.
Could mean that he's maybe on his way, right? Yeah. And we know that it's not just Arsenal. There's Arsenal, the club that are interested in him. Arsenal apparently is the club that's turned his head. But Forest also interested in him as well. I think if it came down to it, he'd choose Arsenal.
Yeah, no disrespect.
No disrespect to Forest. And why wouldn't he want to play for Arsenal? You know what I mean? Arsenal, they're challenging in the league. They're in the Champions League. He'll be able to play Champions League football. I think he'd love that move. But it's, again, down to whether Wolves will sell him.
Yeah.
That's going to be the Wolves, as we know. They're down the bottom. They're struggling. He's their best player by far. A third of their goals this season have come from him. Right? Are they going to sell him and then risk going down? They're in serious danger of going down. They're on the same amount of points as Ipswich, who are in the bottom three. They're
17th.
But, who knows? Because a couple of weeks ago, all the journalists, this is what I'm saying when I say that nobody really knows. A couple of weeks ago, every one of those journalists reported that he's definitely staying. He's going to sign a brand new contract. He's definitely staying. And that's not the case because he's now refusing to sign the contract.
It would appear that he's agitating for a move.
He's agitating for a move, 100%.
And this kind of goes back to what I was saying the last time we did a show. I think it was the last time we did a show. And I said that the January window, typically you get disaffected players, meaning that players are falling out of favour with their clubs. And if you apply Arsenal as an example, if you look at recent acquisitions in the January window, namely Leandro Trossard, Aubameyang, people like that, even Ozil, they were guys that had fallen out with their clubs for whatever reason.
Well, he's definitely fallen out.
Yeah.
Because even his manager on Monday after the game, the defeat against Chelsea, came out and said that I don't like his body language, basically saying I don't like his attitude, and I've told him it can't happen again. And he went on to say something like, listen, I know he wants to win, but everybody in the dressing room wants to win. That sounds like and he went public with it. So that's a big falling out, right? And that's telling you about the mentality of the player, that he wants to win, he doesn't like the situation he's in. He hasn't signed that new contract, he's refusing to sign it. Right, so that suggests to me that he's definitely a player that could leave before the end of the transfer window. It could come down to price. And again, it comes down to Wolves. Do they want to keep a player that wants out? Right? Because he's not the only one. They've got Lamina, who's in the same situation at the moment, where he's just down tools. What if, that's what I'm saying, interesting if he plays on Saturday. What if he downs tools? Then surely he's on his way out. But that's going to be interesting to what, I don't know, he sort of seems more, Lamina does seem the sort of guy who would just say, yeah, get me out. But Cunha seems more the sort of guy that wouldn't want to leave in that way. I don't know. But then, as I said, the comments from the manager on Monday, It's a possibility.
Some people have suggested
I'd have him at Arsenal in a heartbeat. I think he's a good player. Very good player.
Some people have suggested that Arteta, that might have turned him off a little bit, the way he's behaving.
But you just gave 2 examples.
Exactly, and that's why.
Right, and Trossard is one, and Trossard's come to Arsenal and done very, very well. Yeah. Trossard's been one of the best January signings in recent times. When you consider, pound for pound, what they paid for him, and what he's done for Arsenal. He's done very, very well for Arsenal. You know what I mean?
I don't need to say any more about what Aubameyang did. He was,
exactly, you know what I mean? So
it does work, people.
To me, Cunha would be a great signing. He's easier, well, I'm saying easier, but it might be possibly easier to do than a Sesko.
I was going to ask you that. Cunha or Sesko? If you could only get one, which one would it be?
It would be Sesko. It's a difficult one, you know, because I say Sesko because he's an out-and-out striker. But I think we need 2 players. I think we need a player that can, you know, sort of play high, you know, like a Cunha that could play centre forward, could play also on the left, even right, even attacking midfielder. He could play all them positions, right? So he would be a great signing. But then we still need an out-and-out striker. Yeah. If it falls down to only one right now in January, I might err towards the side of Cunha. Because he's already played in the Premier League and he'd hit the ground running straight away. Then in the summer, you go for the big striker. Maybe, because he is also a centre forward, but he's not your out and out. I would love to see that out and out, but I know how difficult things are. But if Cunha's gettable, a guy that's already knows the Premier League.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think they're both quality players, man. But Cunha, like you said, battle-tested already. He's got 10 goals this season. We've seen his ability. He's
Imagine him in a better side.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? You know, he's been provided better service and stuff like that. I think he'd do really well at Arsenal. And I think he can make an instant impact.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would be all in favour
of that. Are Arsenal's board going to have the ambition to pay that extra money to get a deal? Because I read somewhere where they were saying they don't want to pay more than 45 million for Cunha, and you're not getting him for that.
No, you're not.
Right? You're going to have to pay up to like 60 million for Cunha. You know, Wolves are not stupid. They're going to want big money if he does go. They would have seen what, you know, City have paid for Omar Mamouche, you know, and he's not Premier League ready. Exactly, he's been doing it in the Bundesliga. So the money's going to be big. It's going to be 60, even 70 million if they let him leave.
Cunha kind of reminds me of what Jesus was. And listen, I'm no disrespect to Jesus. I'm just saying he looks like that younger, stronger version.
Yeah,
possibly
that's
more talented.
Yeah, good. That's a good comparison. Yeah, you know what I mean? And you know, with Jesus out, you know.
And we know that Mikel Arteta likes that type of player who can play in different positions.
Have they got the finances to do it? Because funny enough, like me and David Ornsey were talking about this the other day. Arsenal are probably looking to sell Jesus in the summer.
There you go.
Now they're not going to be able to do that because he's injured and he's going to be out for a whole season. It's going to be just sitting there. As harsh as that sounds, but that wages is still going to have to be paid and they can't sell him.
That's right.
So,
okay, moving on. We're done with the transfer stuff. But look, it's segued nicely into the game at the weekend where Cunha could feature, he might not. I personally think he will feature. Very important game, Arsenal against Wolves. Wolves at home. Wolves are a better side at home, I would argue, than they are away from home. We did beat them earlier in this. I think it was the first game of the season, wasn't it? We beat them 2-0. Quite comfortable, actually. But listen, they're fighting for their lives. They need the win. They did beat Man United at home a few weeks back. They've got a new manager who's set certain standards. He's known for his his attention to defensive stuff and all that. So this could be a difficult game for Arsenal, yeah?
Yeah, listen, we're supposed to win this game. They're right near the bottom. They've lost 3 games in 2025 by conceding 3 goals. They're the worst team in the league at defending set pieces, which that bodes well for Arsenal. Yeah. I watched them on Monday. Listen, attacking-wise, they are good with Cunha. You know what I mean? Strand Larsen, Nori getting forward. They can hurt you going forward, but can they defend? That's their big Achilles heel right now. And I just feel that Arsenal are just going to have too much for them. I can see this like 3-1 to Arsenal. I really can. I mean, they concede too many goals and they concede them very easily as well. I mean, Chelsea didn't really have to work hard for some of those goals that they scored. So, yeah, I fancy us in the game. And, you know, I mean, we've started to, you know, I know we let a 2-goal lead slip against Villa, but we're attacking better over the last few games. Scored 2 against Villa, scored 3 last night, scored 2 against Tottenham. Some of the players that have been criticised have been playing much better. You know what I mean? Havertz has been scoring, Trossard scored, Martinelli scored. They've all assisted. So we got players coming back. Ranieri came on the other night, looked really lively. Calafiori's back. Yeah, I think we're going to have too much for them. Still need to go in the market and strengthen, but we should have too much for Wolves.
Yeah, I agree. So what
3-1.
3-1. Yeah, you went 3-1. I went 2-1, and that's because initially I went 1-0, then I went 2-0 for Arsenal. Then I thought, you know what, given that Wolves are at home, they're fighting for their lives, they're probably going to put an extra 10% effort on this one. And then you got the Mateus Cunha factor as well. I personally think he will play, and I think between him and Strand Larsen, they might even get a goal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Listen, we've been conceding goals. That's one of our problems. That's why last night's clean sheet was good, even though they weren't much of an attacking threat. Dinamo Zagreb.
No, they were poor.
Yeah, they were very poor.
I mean, the one thing I would say about them, they've not played a competitive game, Zagreb that is, since December.
Yeah, but listen, that could have also added to making them because we played too many games in a way. So they should really have been fresh because they have played a few friendlies. Yeah. So and. Yeah, they're poor, so are Wolves. You know what I mean?
No, but I think the one thing I would say, and I'm pretty sure you will agree with me, is that the game on Saturday against Wolves is going to be a more
because it's away from home, it's a much more difficult test. But are Wolves better than Dynamo Zagreb? I didn't even know.
Well, we don't
the way they've been playing this season. Dynamo Zagreb beaten some decent teams in the Champions League. Yeah. So it's a game that we're supposed to win. It's a game that we have to win.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, people, thank you very much. Thanks, Robbie, for coming on. Thanks so much for watching the show. If you're new here, please like, share and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care. We're out.
Nice.